Hi guys, EBPMAN here with Tablets for Me. I've been living with the HTC M9 now for 2 weeks and I've been using it as my primary phone, and I wanted to share with you my impressions. The M9 has a 2,840 milliamp hour battery. Unfortunately, that battery is not removable. It has a unibody type construction, which really doesn't allow you to remove the battery. However, that being said, the actual construction itself, the phone really looks really good. It has this high gloss look to it, shiny, and as you look at the corners here, you'll notice that there is kind of this bevel, this two-tone bevel. So you have the actual phone, and then you have this gold bevel going around, and you can see that here on the side as well. That is going to vary from phone to phone, or the color of the phone that you choose, but it's always going to have that bevel. The battery life, in my experience, has been really good. It isn't outstanding. It's pretty much what I would consider in the good category, as I've seen with many phones. Now, one of the things that HTC has made a change to is the location of the power button. So what you'll notice here is that the power button used to be at the very top right corner of the phone. Now what's happened, it's been moved to the bottom, and I'll zoom in so you can see that right here. So now you have the bottom, this is your power button, and then you have your volume rocker. Now the challenge with that is that I find that every phone that I've looked at, with the exception I would say of the LG, which has the power button in the back, has the power button on the upper right hand corner. The iPhone, all the Samsung phones. So I find myself continually pressing the wrong button when I'm trying to power up the phone. I actually have to tilt the phone over, look at what I want to press, and then press it. So that's a change that has happened with the actual button location. The other thing that's a little drives me a little bonkers is the power adapter. I would say it's upside down, and I will only say that because every manufacturer has this flipped. So in my experience, as I was taking a micro USB cable, let's say like this one right here, and I was trying to plug it in, I would always plug it in with the teeth part. You see how this is? Oh, sorry. I would take it and I would want to plug it in this way. But what's happening is that the USB charging port is the other way. So it's actually what I would call upside down. So you have to plug it in this. So if you have been using another manufacturer phone, Motorola, Samsung, LG, that's going to be one thing that you'll have to get used to, that the button is, or the plug is actually upside down. Now, one thing that really sets aside HTC is the fact that you have two speakers. And I'll flip it this way so you can see them. So you have a right and a left speaker, which I have to say that the boom sound from this phone, is what HTC calls it, is fantastic. I don't think that there is a phone on the market that can compete from a sound quality. And if that's something that you're really interested in, you like listening and watching to movies from your phone without a headset or without a either Bluetooth headset or a wired headset, then that is an incredible advantage when it comes to this phone as it compares to others. Now, HTC did add a couple modes, which I'll show you. Let me just turn on the phone for a second, and we'll go here into settings. And there are a couple modes now that they've included in the sound area that are really going to change. Also, it's almost like the preferences of how you listen to music. So, or any kind of sound. So I'll zoom in there for you. You'll see that I have the boom sound is now with Dolby, but also has the ability that you'll notice how it says music mode. If I tap it, it changes to theater mode. And if you tap it, it goes back to music mode. I personally prefer the music mode, even when watching movies. I find that if I have it in theater mode, I'm not terribly satisfied with the quality. It may be a little bit too harsh, but I really like the ability to be able to switch this back and forth. But once again, if you're looking for sound, you're looking for a phone that can really give you that surround sound experience, then definitely the M9 is going to surpass your expectations as it compares to other phones. So let's take a closer look at memory for a second. So you do have what appears to be like two SIM trays, but actually one is for your SIM and the other one is for expandable memory. The M9 has the ability to support micro SD cards up to 2 terabytes. Now, keep in mind that there aren't any cards of that capacity yet available in the market, but you do have the ability when those technologies evolve to be able to support that on this side. It does use a nano SIM, and I'll just flip this over so you can see where the SIM is. So here's my SIM on the opposite side. So you have one on each side. Now, the phone itself has 3 gig of available memory for processing. So that is as you're using your phone and you're navigating on the internet, or you're in Facebook, or you're on Instagram, it's really using that 3 gigabytes of memory to process all those activities and those functions. It also has internally for storage 32 gigabytes of storage, which is very generous, and it's really needed nowadays especially. But what I really like is, unlike the Samsung line of phones where they've eliminated with the S6 line the actual expandable memory, this phone still has it. So if that's something that's important to you, it's something else to consider as you look at the M9. Now let's talk about the display for a second. It's a 5-inch display, so it really hasn't changed much from the previous version, with a 1080p resolution and 441 PPIs. I like comparing or using phones in real life, I would say, situations. So in addition to using it internally, I did try using the phone outside in direct sunlight, as I've been using it for the last couple of weeks. And I would say that it does a decent job when it comes to outdoor viewing. It's not the best, and I will say that if I were to put it between some of the flagship phones that are available today on the market, if you compare the LG G4, it's a fast phone, it's a good phone, but it really has a major fail when it's for outdoor viewing. You just can't see anything. Then you have the S6 from Samsung, and the S6 is going to be on this side. It's really is the best for outdoor viewing. I really like how it pushes that extra brightness. The colors aren't really true to color when it does that, but I can see what's going on my phone, and I don't have to squint or kind of look for shade. Now, the M9 falls right in between. I give it a good. It's not a great, it's a good. It's a little bit on the dark side, but not so much where I can't use the phone or I don't know where I'm navigating. So that's something that's really great as well. Now the next thing I'd like to talk about is the actual camera. The camera has a 20 megapixel camera, and it is capable of shooting 4K video, and the front facing camera uses a technology is referred to as a ultra pixel camera. Now this is an area that I'll talk a little bit about as well in depth. The camera, while it has high pixel rating, I didn't find that the camera did a fantastic job. It did a good job when it came to taking pictures. So this is something else that you should really consider when you're thinking about a phone, if it's something that's really important to you. What I'm going to do is I'll bring up some of the pictures that I've taken just to give you a sense of what my experience was. A couple things that I'll just mention just off the bat. Let me just make sure we're looking at the right pictures. Is while these pictures actually look pretty good, it was super bright outside, direct sunlight, and as I compare this to some of the other phones and the pictures that I've taken, I found that the other phones did a better job dealing with lights. I found that this is a little darker than I'd like it to be. You can see how dark it is. I found that also that that sometimes the colors can seem to be a little bit over processed. And that's with the actual rear-facing camera to 20 megapixel. Now, I don't know if it has to do with hardware. I don't know if it has to do with software. But again, I was a little disappointed. Here's another picture, and this was, again, direct sunlight. I would have expected the reds to be more vivid. I would have expected the greens as well. And it just felt that it wasn't doing the kind of job I'd like it to do for a 20 megapixel camera. The 4K video shooting as well wasn't something that I was terribly impressed with. But again, it really depends on the eye, what you're looking for, and how much you pay attention to that kind of detail. Now, from a processor perspective, it does compete with all the other phones on the market. It does have a Snapdragon 810 octa-core processor, and it's a 64-bit processor. As I mentioned, if you have, or if you're coming from another phone, you want to make sure that your actual SIM card is a nano SIM, because that's the only thing that will work with this device. But the processing and experience, I felt that just moving around and navigating was pretty fast. I really had no problems moving around. As you can see here, it's very responsive. I didn't find that I experienced many overheating moments where sometimes you have phones that just tend to warm up too much in your hand as you're using it. It got warm, but not warm, I would say excessively warm or anything out of the ordinary that would not come from heavy usage. Now, from a software perspective, one of the things I'd like to highlight is this area here, which is new for the M9. HTC has created kind of situational or location-based apps. Preferences or suggestions. So you'll notice here, let me zoom in so you can see that really good. I have a home, and this is not my home page, even though this happens to be the home. This widget area, it says home. So what the application is doing, or this widget is doing, is really looking at my patterns of usage and my location, and then providing applications that I use in that area. So if I'm at home, I'll see certain apps. If I'm at work and there's other settings, right? If I'm at home, if I'm at work, or I'm out, it's going to switch. So for example, if I'm out, it could show all my navigation apps will come up. If I'm at work, it may show some spreadsheet apps or some applications that I would use when I am, in that kind of setting. So, and it also suggests apps as well. So this is an attempt from HTC to really create a personalized experience, an intelligent experience, without forcing you to create some groupings where you may have work apps, home apps. It just will do it automatically for you, which I think is a cool attempt to really personalize and anticipate what you need when using your phone. Now, from a call quality perspective, it really is going to vary from carrier to carrier. So I really look at, based on the carrier that I'm using, and I compare it to another phone, what's the call quality like? What's the battery life like? Do I have any drops? I look at those things, and I can say that with this phone, it is pretty comparable to my experience with any other phone on the market for this specific carrier. This happens to be a T-Mobile version of the HTC, and as I compared it to my other phones, for example the LG G4, I found that the sound quality was good, speakerphone was good, the clarity of my voice for the person on the other side was good. It's what I would have expected from the phone. So overall, I thought that the actual phone qualities as a phone work really well. Now, another new feature that I found with the M9 is the concept of themes. And what we're seeing is more and more phones are starting to introduce this concept. Themes gives you the ability to personalize your phone to suit what you'd like. Unlike the iPhone or any of the iDevices that are really, I would say, they all look the same and they don't really provide any differences in experience outside of your wallpaper and maybe your icon location. Android has set itself apart by creating personalization, and in many cases you'd have to install an app for that. So now Samsung, LG, and also HTC have the ability to use themes. So here are several themes that are available. Many are free, some require a purchase, but what you can literally do is, let's say for example you'd like to use this one right here. You could actually just choose this specific theme and you could download it and apply it to your phone, and you could actually tap, very similar to like the App Store, and actually see what that theme will show you or how your phone will look. So here I have my theme, and this happens to be a Coke theme, and you'll notice that all of the buttons have changed. My phone button, my chat button, and this theme is going to be pretty pervasive, where it's going to go deep and make changes to your phone. So if that's something that you want to see, that's what it will look like. So you notice how this is what the blink feed looks like, and then again, this is what your lock screen will look like. So gives you again the ability to personalize. Again, a lot of this stuff is free. There are things that you can actually pay for if you'd like, but the neat thing is here is that you can experiment with your phone, make changes, and really as you're making those changes, not damage anything or have to put in a third-party app. So I really like the fact that themes are now custom but also standard inside of the M9. So double tapping on the screen when your phone is off is going to turn on your phone. But there are also many other personalizations that you can make. So what we're going to do is go into settings, and what we're going to do is look for display and gestures. And once you go into display and gestures, we're going to go into motion launch gestures. And this is something else that I like. So we talked about the double tap, that it will basically turn on the phone. And let's zoom in a little bit so you can see that. But then you have other things that you can do. You can swipe down to turn on voice dialing. You can swipe up to unlock, which is something that's standard. You can swipe left to launch a widget panel. So you can enable these and play with these and see again how this changes your experience when using the phone. I find that I use a lot of these features once I'm comfortable with them and I've used them before. But if you're not, just rest assured that you understand that you could very easily just double tap to wake up the phone or double tap to put it to sleep. So again, a lot of convenience features so you don't have to reach for that power button if that's not something that you want to do. So this concludes my review or my 2-week impression of the HTC M9. I want to thank HTC for making this phone available for us for review, and I also want to thank you guys all for watching. If you have any comments or questions about this phone, please leave it on the YouTube channel. Once again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and let me know what else you'd like me to review. Talk to you guys soon.